Welcome to the Creating Salon Success podcast, where you will find educational and inspiring interviews to help you create your dream salon. And here's your beauty salon systemization expert, spa owner, and entrepreneur, Louisa Ashforth.
Hi, I'm Louisa Ashforth from LA Training Academy, Creating Salon Success. I'm here today with Jacqui Greene, and I'm really excited to introduce Jacqui. She is going to do a workshop for us today. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to let her introduce herself. So hi, Jacqui.
Hey there, Louisa. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on this. Well, we're recording this on a rainy Tuesday, right?
I know. Where's all the sunshine gone?
I
know. Hopefully it will be back and we will be able to enjoy some more sun. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
So, do you want to just introduce yourself, Jacqui, and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, please?
Yes, of course. So my name is Jacqui Greene. I'm thinking you can probably see the slide that's already up, but it's pretty straightforward. So Jacqui Greene Coaching, I actually help facilitate alignment and ultimately truly getting into who you really are and letting go of blockages, unconscious blocks that are getting in the way from you stepping into the next level of life. So I work very much with women who are already at a level either in their business or their life or in the relationship. It's like it's okay, but life shouldn't be okay, right? Life should be exciting. It should be peaceful and joyful. And ultimately what I do is help ladies to really let go of all the things that are no longer serving them from their past. And that past can be from when they were teeny tiny up until last week's past. Let it go so they can truly strive into their future unapologetically and confidently as themselves, not a version of themselves that they've sort of created to suit everybody else.
Oh, wow, this sounds amazing. I have a feeling that a lot of my listeners and followers are going to be so inspired after this. I'm excited. So definitely can't wait for this. So I'm going to let you just take the floor, Jacqui.
Awesome.
I'm excited. I feel like I should get a pad and paper.
Yeah, pen and paper would be a good thing to have.
I don't think pad and paper. I mean pen and paper. So yeah, I think everyone grab a pen and paper, and I think we need to take some notes here.
Yeah, go grab it. And I'm going to stop my video so I can see my screen properly. Is that all right with you, Louisa?
Of course, absolutely fine.
Yeah, Louisa, thank you so much for having me today. So what I'm going to run through today, and I'm hoping I'm going to be in and around the sort of 20-25 minutes. So we're well within the 30 minutes for the day. But this is going to be about finding, connecting, and confidently expressing your true self. So like literally this is about what you can focus on today. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks in this short presentation to move into that highest version of you, so that whether it's that you're striving for better in your relationship, or obviously we're on here with Louisa today, so striving for the best in your business. You know, we can have strategy and we can have marketing and we can have business tools and things that we need, and we absolutely need all of that 100%. But if we step up and realize that we're getting in our own way, that's what this is about today. This is about getting out of your own way, letting go of the parts that have kind of attached themselves to you that don't belong to you really, so that you can take all of that business strategy and the marketing strategy and everything else that you've got on that side and absolutely thrive with it. So ultimately this is about moving into the identity of who you truly are, so that the next, I don't know the kind of age range of you guys listening to this podcast, but let's say you're somewhere between 20 and 50. So let's say the next 40, 50, 60 years plus of your life is everything you want it to be. So this is for, so let me move the screen. So this is for high achieving professional women, wherever you are in your within your career. If you're in the private sector and moving into the beauty side of things, if you're already an entrepreneur, or if you've been in the corporate world and know that you need to get out, and that's how come you've come here, because Louisa does for you what you need as far as that's concerned. If you're working hard at life and it isn't quite where you want to be, then this is absolutely for you. And this is really important. This is about, if you know there's greatness inside, and I'm sure you do, if you know it's there, but you're falling short of that, then it's absolutely for you. So we're going to have this deep delve in today so that you can do some things today that will move you forward. And then obviously at the end, of course, I'm going to let you know how, if you wish to, we can work together in the future, but you're going to walk away with some stuff today that regardless can help you move forward.
Oh,
So
exciting. Sorry, I jump in there. I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. I love it.
Awesome. So this is who I am. So as I said, I can't even get my words out. I'm an alignment facilitator. I don't say that when I'm drunk. So for professional women ready to step out of that frustration, to live the life they deserve, and to be, do, and have all that they desire. So the process that I actually work with through the program that I run is called the Psychological Levels of Love. That is associated to the love of ourselves, being that highest version of ourselves within love and compassion for ourselves first, and then giving that out to the rest of the world. You can imagine when you step up into the highest version of you, and you're confidently expressing that, then the people and the things and the opportunities that you magnetize into your life are then aligned with that highest version of you. If you're showing up as a version of yourself that you think you ought to be, or maybe a slightly downtrodden version of yourself, or where for whatever reason confidence has been knocked out of you, then you're going to be kind of magnetizing into your life people, places, and opportunities and things that are aligned with that version of you. So you can see that when you allow yourself to step into totally aligned you, confident, expressive, love, joy, as I said, confidence, then you're going to bring to you all that you want. So as I say here, I'm a self-confessed, never-ending self-improvement junkie, loving horses, humans, and dogs. You may or may not be able to hear, because I do have a podcaster microphone, but I have a French bulldog in the background who is currently snoring really loudly. So if you hear that,
or I can't anyway.
Can you not? That's good. But if he decides to come over and start snorting at me, that's him. I promise.
My cats come and join us.
I have to say, on all my calls, whether I'm working with clients, like all my clients obviously know Charlie by the time we work together, but when I'm in the middle of a deep meditation trance and he starts snoring, I use that.
It's like when my cats are purring, it's quite relaxing, so I'll just relax into the snore.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. I got to say, when I'm trying to concentrate and he gets really loud, it's like, okay, mate, you need to leave.
Bless him.
Oh dear. So let's go on. So what we're gonna look at today, really, my promise to you on this call today is I'm going to show you exactly what you need to move into that existence, move out of keeping up appearances, that kind of seeming like you've got it made, but actually deep down inside you feel a bit of a fraud, or you're feeling like you're really not where you want to be. And I'm gonna run through 5 steps in total. So this first step is about tightening up your security. So that's your internal security and your external security. And what I'm going to do through this is I'm going to give you a little synopsis of my story along the way, how I found these steps. Obviously, this is about you, not me today, but to put it in context so that you know where I'm coming from with it. So this step 1 is about the first shift came from allowing myself to follow my own instincts. I booked a trip for myself to an ayahuasca retreat. If you don't know what that is, it's plant medicine in the simplest of forms. And I booked that after one of those moments in life where I literally was at this turning point in my life, which was like, why am I here? What's the point? And rather than going down that rabbit hole, I stood out of the bath that I happened to be sat in at that time and went, something has to change, and it has to change now. And within 3 weeks, I'd booked this trip. And like, there's a heck of a story behind it. But ultimately, the standout takeaways from the trip that I had, and that happened for me as soon as I decided to choose me, was that understanding of who I am, the worth that I am simply by being a human being on this planet, and that I'm capable of anything I choose to put my heart, my mind, and my soul into. That was a number of years ago now, but it was most definitely one of the most profound experiences of my life And of course, you know, you can ask me about that anytime, but as I said, so let's move on to what that means for you.
It sounds amazing. I'm inspired already. I just got goosebumps thinking I want to go to this retreat.
I have to say, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. It's not about going and having a jolly time, but I would be open to having a chat with anybody who wanted to even just know about that experience.
I think we all need that though, don't we, to get out of our comfort zones and really show us what we are made of, because I think a lot of us surprise ourselves, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know, like the program we're on is very specifically over an 8-week period, and that's quite a short period of time compared to the maybe 2.5 years it took me to work all of this out that I'm sharing with you today. And that's what I say, you know, if you want to go out, if you've got the capability to go to the different countries, seek out the gurus that suit you, to do those things in that way, then absolutely go and do that. I wouldn't say don't do that. Obviously, it's what I actually did, but it cost me 6 figures over those 2.5 years.
So we'll go with the 8-week one.
Yeah. You know, so like I get it, but it's why I do what I do, because I recognize that people, if I could have done it more quickly, absolutely, like I'd never give up what I've done. But if I could have moved out of the place I was in, certainly at that time for 18 months, it was a not nice place to be working through. So there's that element of, it's got to, you know, what's right for you. Is it to spend the time, spend the money? And also, you know, I didn't have a family. That was part of my issues at the time. But there are plenty of women out there who have family, who have their kids, who have the relationship side of things all sorted, but the business isn't working for them. And at that point, it's like, okay, then we need to focus and we need to get you sorted.
Definitely need some guidance there.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is where we start. So really it's the start of that feeling of security in your physical space. So, you know, what about when you stop and take a moment to go inside as well? Can you do that without fear? So many people hide away from even looking inside, as in, you know, even taking that time, because they know the situations they went through when they were younger, or things that kind of upset them, and they get scared that if they look at that, it's going to bring it all back to them as if they were there. The way we do this is very different to that. We want you to always feel safe. So we want you to pick through the weeds, basically take out the trash, you know, kind of clearing the leftovers out the way and releasing everything that's no longer serving you. You don't have to go and look at it and talk about it for hours and delve into it and find out how much it hurts. Quite frankly, quite the opposite. We want to just get rid of it. You know, we don't go digging through the trash pile, the bins, before we put them out on the curbside. We've already put it in the bin and tied up the knot, and the bin man takes it away. We know the story that we've been living by. We don't need to have to go there. So like I say here, think of it like walking through woodland. You've got the pillars of the trees around you. They hold the canopy above you as you stroll through the mulch of hundreds of years of leaves gone by. And you get to go, that one doesn't work. No, I don't like that one. No, I don't need that. Thanks very much. You've been helpful, but not any longer. So how do you do that? So let's start with your physical space, because ultimately, if you don't feel safe in your actual physical surroundings, or if they don't suit you, there are things you can do immediately to help yourself with that. So the spaces that you spend your most time, for instance, you know, if you don't feel great in any of the places that you spend most of your time in, and I'm talking about, so for me, as an example, my office environment has changed since lockdown, because my partner, who's a solicitor, now has my office. But that was a decision we made. I say he has my office. It's completely his, because it's now completely decorated in boy colours. But I got to make my office space within our house, which is actually in our lounge area, but it's totally mine. My stepkids aren't allowed near it. I keep it very tidy. It's right next to our big double doors, and I love it. It's glorious. And when I've come on something like this today, my other half gets told, I'm on a recording, or I'm on a live, or I'm recording something live. Don't come in. And my stepkids don't live with us 24/7. So I get the kind of best of both worlds. When they're here on a Wednesday or at the weekend, then I don't do this sort of thing. I book around it. So, you know, like for yourself, it could be, so like I want to feel differently in my bedroom than I do in my car. Now, my car looks a little bit like a dog kennel. It's a little sports car, but my white French bulldog, his hairs seem to go everywhere. I swear I eat them. So for me, when I get that all cleaned up and tidy, it always feels awesome. But I want to feel, you know, exhilarated and in control and bright and alert in my car. I want to feel peaceful and relaxed and completely within myself in my bedroom. And I know that not everybody has it like that. So check out those spaces. What space could you do something to today that would align with that feeling that you want to achieve in that space? So that I would, you know, that would be the first place I would be looking at. So connection between your head and your heart. This is where we're looking and going inside at your physical, your internal physical security. The connection between your head, your heart, your soul. That's your unconscious mind and your conscious mind. As it were, the unconscious mind being your blueprint, the bit that runs the engine, and your conscious mind, of course, being that thinking thought space that we think is controlling everything, but in fact is only controlling about 5 to 10% of what we're actually doing, because it's that stuff underneath the blueprint that's been created over our lives that's really running the show. Yeah. So obviously, what I can't do here today is the really powerful meditation trance that I help my clients gain that safety and connection and space inside and pull out the resources that they work with. But there are some questions you could ask yourself just to help yourself understand, move forward more in alignment with what you want to feel like and how you want to show up. So questions like this: when specifically in my past did I feel happiest? You know, we can all think of a time in our past when we've been peaceful or joyful. You know, even I speak to some ladies who have had quite treacherous pasts, but there's always something, there's always a time. And if you allow yourself to, if you're somebody whose idea of thinking back to their past kind of worries you, know that there were happy times. And when you allow yourself to look for those happy times, they'll come out for you. When you keep telling yourself my past was all rubbish, that wasn't the word I was going to use, but when you tell yourself that your past was all rubbish, then you're only going to find rubbish. So ask yourself, when specifically in my past did I feel happiest? What were you doing at that time? And who were you being? How were you showing up maybe differently than what you do when you're maybe frustrated or feeling like a failure or feeling, like nothing's going your way? So who were you being when you felt at your happiest? What were you doing? And then what was happening at the time? Like, what was going on around you? How was that perhaps different to what goes on around you right now? And then I want you to consider what parts of that past experience you could represent for yourself now. It might be the internal feelings. It might be, okay, where do I feel that happiness? It might be the thoughts that you were having. It might be the way you physically showed up. Do you know what I mean? So just consider the times from that happy past and bring them to now. That's, it's not just about thinking about the past. It's about using the past as a way of being able to step forward into the future. So the beauty is that you know what the feeling of the emotional state of happiness is. So you can replicate that. You can recreate that simply by imagining that past experience, bringing the thoughts, feelings, and actions back today. Alrighty, so step 2. I have no idea how I'm doing on time, by the way, Louisa. So please do butt in and tell me to speed on up.
Don't worry. I think we're all enjoying it anyway. So it'll be fine.
So step number 2 is about putting down your weapons. Basically, put down your weapons to set yourself free. So what do I mean by that? So how did I get here? So after I returned back from Peru, I made a decision to follow a lifelong dream to live in France. This was something that I had wanted to do for, maybe 15 years up to this point. And 3 months later, 3 months after returning back from Peru, I packed up my little Golf. I packed Charlie the dog into the front seat because he had no room else in the car because it was literally packed full. And we drove the 12 hours to a tiny hamlet in the Midi-Pyrenees, just on the edge of Aquitaine, so southwest France. I found a little Jeep there to rent, and I rented it for 3 months. And I totally found home. The region, especially the people, the space, the fresh air, the peace, and I allowed myself to feel safe in my own space. For the first time in my life, I had nobody else around me. I stayed in for literally days and days on end, other than to take Charlie out for a walk. I didn't see a single soul for weeks on end, other than if I went to the supermarket. And it was what I needed. It was a total switch off that I needed for me. And as much as all my, I had contact even back then with, I don't know whether it was FaceTime or Zoom or whatever it was, but, I chatted with friends at time, but on my terms. I totally chose me in this time. And I chose to forgive myself for where I had gotten to, and the feelings I'd gotten to in that time as well. As I said, I meditated, I wrote, I slept a lot. I slept a lot. It's a good job Charlie doesn't need lots of exercise, because I really slept a lot. And I connected back to who I was and who I remembered being when I was little, and who I'd absolutely lost along the way. And the part of that was about forgiving myself for wishing a life that hadn't happened, and for wanting things to be different to the way they were. Now, as it turns out, I ended up with the life that I always wanted in the end, just differently to how I expected it. Isn't that funny? But so what's this about then? So there's putting down your weapons. So this is about turning your attention to that love, compassion, and respect that you give yourself. Awareness is key with everything. I don't think it matters which of the steps we talk about. Having the awareness first and foremost is absolutely key. You call yourself out on when the unhelpful voices start to chant, because so often we just assume that we can't control anything. And even really interestingly, I put up a post on Facebook the other day that was talking about fear, and the fact that we get to choose our emotions, or at least we get to choose how long we stay in them. We don't necessarily get to choose when they come to us. But fear, for instance, you can choose to stay in fear for weeks and months, or you can make a choice for yourself that, okay, I appreciate that I'm feeling this feeling, but I choose that I'm going to feel it for now, and at this point enough is enough. And my brother actually commented on that post and said, don't think we get to choose don't think we get to choose our feelings.
Sounds like my brother.
Right? And I'm like, I've got nothing. I'm not going to have that conversation openly on Facebook. We can have that chat personally.
Yeah.
But believe me when I tell you, we absolutely get to choose. As I said, we don't necessarily get to choose when they come to us. All of our emotions are absolutely valid. We can feel fear and anger and sadness and grief. Of course, we're meant to feel all of those things, because we would never know the contrast then of joy and happiness and peace and fulfillment. But we get to choose how long. So when you start to become aware and you start to notice maybe some unhelpful voices chanted, you get used to noticing them, and you get used to noticing the tones of frustration or the ridicule that you're pointing at yourself. And then you get to choose another thought, or you get to speak something out loud that drowns out the unhelpful voices. And that then becomes a pattern, and then a pattern becomes a habit. So creating that deep, unwavering recognition when that small part of you, maybe the child inside who needs attention, it's not about shutting it up, it's just being aware and choosing a different way. So as I said, awareness is the first step to happiness. It is a continuous process, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. So build a level of love and compassion for yourself beyond anything you might have experienced. Start again from the outside. Love your physical body first and foremost. And in the industry that you guys are in, right? Like the amount of women I speak to who really have issues on one level or another of their physical self, or the way they show up, the way they look. And it's like, if only you could see what I can see. You've got to start with that physical body, because in the society that we live in, it's all nonsense. And we know that wearing makeup and doing our hair helps us feel better, and that's great. And if you love on all of your body versus hating on it, it's going to want to grow with you rather than against you. But if you hate on it, it's only going to go the other way. So forgive yourself for not knowing any better, for not knowing everything, for not being some unrealistic version of perfection. You know, we're human, each and every one of us are, and that alone is perfection enough. Be so much kinder to you first, because you can't attract kindness or love or compassion or respect if you are not that for yourself first. Why should anybody else show up and be that for you if you can't be it for yourself? So the last thing I have my clients do at this stage is they take all of the knowledge and appreciation of how far they've come as their adult self, and in the 2020 vision that is hindsight, I have them connect back to the very youngest version of themselves, and then bring that right through to today. Like, you know, you've gotten through things, you know that there are elements in your life that were difficult, but you made it through. Because if you hadn't made it through and it didn't work out okay, you wouldn't be here listening to me and watching this and, you know, in contact with Louisa. So know that you can utilize that and just take that time to look over your life and how, knowing that it works out okay, how does that affect the way you see those events from your past? Oh, going all over the place here. Hang on. I've got trigger finger on my on my mouse. Basically, it's about imparting that gift of time, understanding and appreciation for life and all that you've accomplished at your adult stage of life, and giving that back to the memories you have of your childhood. Right. Step number 3. I'm looking at my watch. I'm just going to keep going. So are you sitting comfortably? This is about changing those stories. So during my time in France is where I found my calling, doing what I do now. And only after 2 months, because I was supposed to be there for 3, but after 2 months, I flew out to California to spend time with 2 mentors, as mentioned here, Carl Cease and Tony Robbins, who were both, yeah, so they were both holding events and trainings out there. I talk about time of just following my heart. It was just like, okay, this is going on, I'm booking a ticket, this is happening, I'm booking a ticket. Yes, I had the ability to do that financially, and I'm very blessed to have been able to do that, but it came from some other situations. So, you know, I discovered new ways of expressing myself. As it said here, I learned to be strong in my vulnerability and seek the truth of the emotions that I was feeling. Built a level of love, appreciation, compassion for myself first. And I hadn't even realized it was missing. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? So, so the trick is to notice, what are the stories you've been living by? How are those stories serving you? What stories would serve you better now in living the life that you dream of? Simply by changing one overriding story, you can release scores of past hurt and misunderstandings and move forward in a whole new level of awareness. A really simple example of that would be, one of my clients had this assumption that her mum never really took any notice of her when she was playing and enjoying life. Like, she knew her mum loved her, but it was that notice and attention. We went through a process and had her looking back at that time and connected to the fact that she didn't have awareness of every single thing that's going on around her at every one moment. Like, we distort and we generalize the information that's around us so massively that when we begin to make an assumption about what happened in our life, then that's where our focus is, on that assumption. So we changed the assumption. She was playing in the garden as a little girl, and she allowed herself to see her mum stood in the doorway of the kitchen watching her, and that there was absolutely a truth in the possibility that her mum could have been there and she didn't see her. And that alone, that change in conception, in perception alone, was enough for her to release a massive amount of story that she'd been living by. It was beautiful. And being aware of those stories, like, who do you consistently, you know, oh, it's not fair, this is how I grew up, or this happened to me, therefore this is the truth. It's like, it's only your perception of the truth.
That's an amazing way to look at it, that, isn't it? You know, you're sort of convinced by it, aren't you? And then it is a perception at the end of the day. You know, you don't know what was going on in her mum's life, or you know, other areas and stuff. And as an adult, we understand how difficult adulthood can be sometimes.
Absolutely, right. We think we should be the absolute 100% attention of our parents, and then we grow up and realise, it's quite hard, isn't it?
Definitely.
So absolutely. Just the awareness alone that what we see is something crazy, like the equivalent to what we take it in is like a difference between a dot of a ballpoint pen on a piece of paper and the size of a house. Like, it's even more than that. But even if you could just take that awareness that there's information that would fill a whole house, and the amount that we actually take into us is about the size that you pinpoint on a piece of paper, then there's so much else that could be true. And again, you get to choose that, right? So you can consciously rewrite the unhelpful parts of your story. What was absolutely true, and what might not have necessarily been true. Basically debunking some of what we have set in stone and realizing that there could have been other truths, and that awareness alone, and then allowing yourself to go, okay, well, what else could have been happening then? If I was a fly on the wall in that situation, what else might I have seen? That will really help you step into the possibilities of what the stories you could now be living by, rather than maybe the ones that have been getting in your way.
Oh, I like that. It's like we can make our own story and make it happy. And good.
Rewriting it, basically.
Definitely.
So here's some questions. What rules have you been living your life by? What version of your childhood have you married yourself to? Could there be other rules you might live by that would make your life easier? What about the stories that you tell yourself might be untrue or inflated through the child's mind that they came from? And what other truths about your childhood have you forgotten over time, or diminished because they didn't make such a great story, but would really serve you now to focus on instead of where your attention has been? So step 4, change your viewpoint, because it really isn't all about you. It definitely starts with you, but it's definitely not all about you.
I agree. I'm always a big fan of it starts with you, but it's not all about us, is it?
Totally. So back in the UK, I became more deeply aware of the connection in the animal psychology. I totally submerged myself with my dogs and my horses, and the human psychology that I'd found, that, as I said, had found its way to me, because I don't think I found it. I truly think it found its way to me. Consciously active in learning, appreciating, understanding how our human minds work, and I found myself being absolutely fascinated by the intricacies of why we do what we do. So again, it says deeper understanding and appreciation for others as well, and really to forgive and let go of my past perceptions of the wrongdoings that had happened to me. You know, we get really good at blaming everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. Always the fault, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. You know, and I get it. Like we can bounce. Sometimes there can be this ability to kind of bounce one way or another, to blaming ourselves and getting down on ourselves, or blaming someone else and getting down on them. It's like, don't do either, because neither of those things are going to help you through whatever situation you're dealing with.
Definitely.
So this is about depersonalizing anything that might have happened to you, because ultimately, if someone was doing something, whether it's say somebody had an affair, or a business partner cheated on you, you know, through business, or somebody said something horrible, most of the time, and I'm a realist, I get that there are people out there who do go out of their way to do harm and to hurt, but they are still self-serving. Even those people who are forward focused to hurting other people, ultimately the outcome for their actions is serving themselves. It isn't about you. It was never about you personally. It was about them. So when you can allow yourself to release those triggers of that it was about you, depersonalize it, then you're able to let go of the emotions, or at least the trigger behind the emotions. And it ultimately is about compassion. So when this is embodied consciously and consciously, you begin to really heal, set free of those old binds, and really be able to take all that you've learned forward to the rest of your life. Start by taking all that you've learned about the center of your attention to the people in your life. Consider the different possibilities of situations from your past, like we spoke about in the stories. Take away the personal association. See through the eyes of that caring, compassionate person that isn't involved. How would you might see that differently? Recognize, as I said, that if you're able to forgive yourself for things you once did because you didn't know better, then you could probably do that for other people as well. So here are 4 great questions in succession to consolidate yourself that you're acting at the highest version of you. These are completely stolen from The Millions Within, How to Manifest Exactly What You Want and Have an Epic Life by David Neagle. So in his book, he talks about these 4 questions, and I thought I'd use them here for you because it's another thing that you can take away. Is the opportunity something I want to be, do, or have? Is the situation you're in something you want to be, do, or have? If yes, move on. If no, well, why are you doing it? Is being, doing, or having this thing going to move you closer to your dream, your goal, or the ultimate outcome you have? Yes or no? If yes, awesome, move on. If no, I go back to, well, why are you doing it then? I feel like a mum talking to her children, but like, do you know what? Like, it's when I heard these, I was like, oh my god, this is so obvious. But
yeah, when you think about it, everything is so obvious, isn't it? You just need someone just to say
sometimes we just don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh my gosh, how did I not realize?
And then, so question number 3 is being, doing, or having this in harmony with the goals of the universe, which are to promote more life, growth, expansion, connection with others. Again, is it yes? Fabulous, move forward. If no, then should you be doing it? If it's not promoting more life, if it's about being, shutting down or closing off, probably not. So stop. Number 4, does being, doing, or having this stifle anybody else's rights? Does it take away anybody's choice, ultimate choice, to be, do, and have everything they want to be? If the answer is yes on this one, it's a stop, because we shouldn't be negatively affecting anybody's ability to choose. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you can that making your own choices for your own happiness is not the right thing, but just the awareness of coercion, ultimately, which I'm perfectly certain that anybody listening to this would be an easy no, but just having that awareness is ultimately making sure you're showing up as a good person for everybody else as well as for yourself. So those 4 questions are awesome. And then step number 5 is about just don't go it alone. Seek expert guidance. Now, in that doesn't necessarily have to be me. Obviously, I'm not saying you have to work with me, but find someone, because I can pretty much guarantee that even just by listening to this today, you've had some maybe aha moments or realizations, or maybe, oh yeah, I remember I ought to be doing that. So when we get that outside perspective, it really helps us to grow, and we really don't know what we don't know. I learn every single day. I employ my own coaches and always will, because there is always something more we can learn. If you want to be, do, and have everything you dream of in your business, your relationship, your life, then find and connect to your true identity. That way you can confidently and unapologetically express yourself out to the world and attract to you all of the right things for you. And absolutely the time to start doing that is right now, because there is only now. We talk about past is past, tomorrow never comes. The present is the gift that it is. We get to choose and make choice right now. So the 5 shifts I've spoken about that can transform your life: tightening up your security, putting down your weapons, changing those stories, and changing your viewpoint. And don't go it alone. So if you do want my help, so I'm going to, quite unapologetically pitch myself here quickly. If you want to truly align with yourself, utilize connecting between the unconscious and conscious mind, then, as I mentioned right at the beginning, I run an intensive 8-week program where we get together and we really remove and distill all that's been holding you back. It's about transforming and connecting to all of what is inside of you with loving accountability, but in an environment that will help you strive forward. And we do that in a number of ways, but know that that is about one-on-one work as well as online work and group work if it's appropriate as well. And the investment in that is very low compared to the compounding benefits of living your life totally aligned to you. To make it an easy decision, I basically have kept the investment really respectable mid-4 range figure. And if you're interested, if it resonates, then you know where to find me, because look, I've put it at the end of the slides, obviously. You can message me directly. So that's, if you pop that up into, up into your search board, that will take you straight to Facebook Messenger. And you can go to my website, and there are other ways to contact me there as well. So I'm sure you'll have got something from that. I know that Louisa has a PDF of these slides for you so that you can take those away and ultimately, take that and follow them. I'm going to see if I can start my video, but I don't think I can. No. See if I can stop sharing. I should be able to start video. There we go.
Hey.
Hello again.
Hello. Oh, that was so good. Thank you. Such good points. Oh my gosh. I was like, yes.
And I appreciate we're well over time, but hey.
Everyone knows I'm a chatter. So it can't help. So yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming on today, Jacqui. It's been so good, and I'm sure so many people have got so much to take away from it. And a lot of, like I say, I'm sure there'll be a few aha moments and just realization moments as well. So thank you so much for your time.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me on, as I said, and and good luck with everything as we move out of COVID and move into all these next steps.
Yeah.
All of you amazing people on here, I hope you are getting everything you need now to move forward and just make the end of 2020 everything it can be.
Oh, it has to be, doesn't it? Yeah, I think there's a lot of people prepping their salons right now in the hair. A lot of frustrated people in the beauty, but we will get there, so it is all good. Yeah. And it's time now, like you said, to plan and prep and get the best version of yourself and make your life the best it can be.
Thanks so much for listening. I'm Louisa Ashford. I hope you have got so much value from this podcast. As always, thank you so much to our guests for coming on. Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my Podbean channel, and also don't forget to take a look at my YouTube channel so you can see all of these exciting videos. There is also the membership site, louisaashford.co.uk, and of course the free Facebook group where there is loads of educational material creating salon success. Thanks so much.